Hey everybody, Jim and Chris here with the latest episode of the Keeping It Real podcast. Our first Sans Roth. She has moved on to new adventures, as you've heard by now. So
being a traitor.
We wish her well, all that jazz. But we have no time to mourn. There are things to talk about in the world of nerd news.
I'll cry when I'm dead. I don't know. I probably
That's
will.
the kind of morbid stuff I usually go on with.
Well,
wow,
see?
It's like
Freaky
a body
Friday.
switch movie right now. Exactly. Let's talk about Ant-Man. Topped the box office last weekend, but 57.2 million. Nothing to sneeze at unless you're Marvel Studios, in which case it is the second lowest opening for the MCU, behind, just ahead of, I should say, Incredible Hulk, which was 7 years ago. Now, still, $57.2 million, that sounds pretty good to the rest of us.
Also, to be honest, I think they were probably predicting this one a little lower.
Some of the predictions were in the 60 range, so
It's not going to cut into their year, though. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I think they're
got
they're
some
okay
Avengers
on that.
and some Force
what
Awakens.
What do you attribute it not kind of getting that groundswell that, like, Guardians did? And another thing that was unproven, kind of a C-list.
I honestly, I have a crazy. No, it's not so crazy. I think the music of Guardians actually helped to draw people in. I think there's a little bit more of a fun factor to some of the Guardians stuff.
It sounded like a party down the hall in your dorm you want to go check out.
But, Ant-Man, I feel like a lot of people were on the fence about it. Subsequently, there's been good reviews and good word of mouth.
Yeah.
I think it'll do all right this weekend. But, I just don't think there was like a fever pitch built for Ant-Man. And I feel like Marvel was even a little bit tentative with how they came out with it. They
some of the
did a
TV
lot of
spots
stuff,
and trailers, too, were... They weren't that good, some of them. Like, the movies, I love the movie.
Yeah.
But, the Guardians spots, everything, like, just psyched you up for that movie. Whereas the Ant-Man stuff, tonally, it felt like each spot was like a different thing for a different audience.
I think Guardians also ramped up over time.
Yeah.
And I feel like Ant-Man didn't start great, and then it got to a certain level and it kind of plateaued.
Yeah.
Like that's how the ad campaign was, at least. But yeah, the movie has been well received, so I think it'll be fine. And it's like you said, 57 million is not much to sneeze at
for a movie about a guy named Ant-Man. That's pretty good.
Yeah, and it's still got some competition, and Trainwreck did well this weekend.
Yeah, Trainwreck. Let's talk about that real quick. Judd Apatow's second best debut behind Knocked Up. It opened with 30 million. So also, Amy Schumer now.
Yeah.
She's bona fide box office.
Got the Schumer factor.
Yeah, so that's great for her. She's already working on some other projects and stuff like that. So
I was at dinner the other night, and these women sitting next to me, they were probably in their like mid to late 50s. They seriously, for the entire dinner, I was there for probably 45 minutes. They talked only about Amy Schumer for the whole time. And they were just like, oh, I love her. She's so great, blah, blah, blah. She's so awesome. They talked about Trainwreck. They spoiled Trainwreck for me.
Yeah, I still haven't seen Trainwreck. I want to go see it at some point.
So, I think there's real support for her out there in the world based on my two people talking.
That's right.
Method.
And that's your look. Those are the eyes and ears on the street for you.
Those are the folks that are out there in the trenches watching Amy Schumer movies. So we don't have to.
Oh, come on!
I'm not
I
saying
want to say
that.
that.
I just wanted to say so we don't have to.
So Jurassic World, also on the box office tip here. Jurassic World, according to Variety, has passed Avengers as the third biggest hit of all time, behind Avatar and Titanic. It has $1.52 billion.
Thunder lizards, indeed.
You know what that means, Chris? It means the news we got today right before the podcast. Jurassic World sequel.
Yeah.
I really hope it's not called Jurassic World 2.
It won't be.
Will be released on June 22nd, 2018, with Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard expected back, and Colin Trevorrow, the director, co-writing the story, but I don't think he's going to come back.
What about Jurassic World, Loster World?
I want to see Jurassic Moon. They go into space. They're like dinosaur astronauts, and
only Sharknado can go to space now.
I guess so. Yeah, that and the Fast and Furious gang, they have to go.
They have to get up there someday.
That's all I'm saying.
They will in like 20 years when they're still making those movies. They'll be headed off to Kepler 346b or whatever.
Another Earth.
I don't know what you call it. Let's call it another Earth.
Hey, speaking of space stuff, let's talk about a little speculation that made the rounds this week. Space Jam 2 seems to be something
Oh man,
LeBron James wants to will into existence. It was
I love
announced
that. He could though.
basketball star LeBron James signed a deal with Warner Brothers. You know, he's in Trainwreck, and
Yeah.
apparently he's quite good at it.
The
you know?
timing was pretty good for that particular
So
thing.
we'd heard rumblings before that he wants to do Space Jam 2, but it didn't sound like it was much. But now the fact that he's announced this sort of you know, production deal with Warner Brothers, who is the studio behind Space Jam 1, Michael Jordan movie, you know, it's got chins a wagon. Now, it was not specifically stated in the press release that Space Jam 2 is the thing that they're all on board about. However, some folks did some digging and saw that Warner Brothers did recently register some domain names, which is definitely an interesting sign.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're doing those two things close together, and LeBron has said he wants to do it, I mean,
And it's coming off of a hit movie.
even if you are LeBron James and you put that on your Twitter, somebody in Hollywood is going to be like, "Ooh,
Yeah.
let's make that happen," you know.
However, I'm channeling Roth there with the however.
However,
Space Jam 2 did seem to rile up a bit of the internet this week.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
everybody on board with the idea. Now, I'm going to make an admission here. I've never seen Space Jam 1.
I saw it way later. I saw it
Yeah.
like 5 years ago or something like
But
that.
it's a movie, basically it's a kid's movie that a certain generation, which are now
Yeah.
like a good chunk of our
feel
user
like the
base, you know?
Power Rangers era.
that era.
That era.
Oh, and we'll get to some Power
We'll
Ranger
do
stuff
that
in a little
later.
bit because it was kind of a 1-2 punch here. Basically, if you're early, mid-90s kid then, you know, Space Jam meant something to you.
Yeah.
And now they want to do another one, and maybe with a basketball player, maybe you're on board with them, maybe you're not.
That movie, honestly, is way more subversive than it has any right to be. It's like,
Well, how so? Now, again, I haven't
just,
seen it.
It's just a little bit. It's it's sort of geared toward kids, but it's all the sort of Looney Tunes characters.
Bill Murray.
And Bill Murray and Michael Jordan, and it's just
Brendan Fraser in that? or
yeah,
am I
it's goofy, it's fun, it's actually really even now surprisingly watchable, and
Okay.
actually looks really good in HD because they cleaned it up.
Okay.
So I saw it on an HD channel, like I saw it again playing on an HD channel not too long ago. It was really good looking.
Yeah.
For now, so if it's your first introduction to Space Jam, which it might be yours,
It might be.
it's not bad. I actually enjoyed it.
Do you think, should they just out and out remake it, or should they just
No.
do a new version?
No, you got
And
to
why do you
continue
think
the
people
mythology.
are so upset, though, about, you know,
I don't
well, you know, a vocal chunk of people?
I think it's about LeBron. And then there's always going to be people who have that thing sacred in their mind that was Space Jam,
childhood.
and like there's no way that you can do
Thing
Space Jam
that
2.
was sacred in their mind, that was Space Jam. Words never uttered before.
Yeah, I think I
in
made
the
a com-
history.
I made
This
a
world is
completely
what,
original
5
sentence.
billion years old?
Yeah.
Nobody's ever said that until right now.
Skizzle nerps. I know
So-
somebody's probably said skizzle nerps before.
I doubt that too, but you know, maybe somebody mental. you know, I don't think. You know?
I just made it up.
But
That's-
okay, so bottom line, you just think whenever there's something from your childhood in Hollywood revisits, that's where this spark is coming.
I think that's a lot of it. But you know, also I think there becomes this like weird gap in time where like when you do an actual sequel, people are like, oh, why are you doing a sequel? And then I also think if they did do a reboot, there's also like a bit of a backlash against reboots.
Yeah.
Even though I feel like we've gotten treated to some decent reboots of late.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
There's
what are you
always
gonna
going to
do?
be that. And then there's always the person, if I had a penny for how much hatred I feel every time somebody's like, Hollywood has no new ideas. Like, if I had
Hollywood
a-
was remaking movies back in like the 20s and 30s. They would remake movies 4 years or less after the original one came out. So this is an old thing in Hollywood.
I welcome new ideas and I welcome things that you know, are fresh and exciting, but Hollywood's job, everybody in Hollywood's job is to make money
print
for the
money.
studio.
Yeah.
And the things that make money aren't always the original things, and that's sad sometimes, but it's actually, you know,
And
a
I
truth.
think, though, the Space Jam also speaks to the fact that we are now in the 90s nostalgia era. We're out of the 80s thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's one, and we'll talk more about Pixels a little later, but I do feel like Adam Sandler has gone back to the 80s, well, way too many times in his career. And, you know, we're children of the 80s, but that's like been there, done that.
Yeah.
And I feel like now you're talking about kids that grew up with stuff in the 90s. And you mentioned Power Rangers, which is a good example. And these are the things now that that's sacrosanct to them, and don't mess with that. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
So, speaking of Power Rangers, you know, Comic-Con gave us many things, hangovers for the most part, but it also gave us our first look at X-Men Apocalypse, and now those photos have been released. And I got to say, a lot of people not too happy with Apocalypse's look. And those people are like some of the folks we were just talking about Space Jam 2, grew up in the 90s with Power Rangers, and then later the Power Rangers movie.
Yeah.
And you know who they say that Apocalypse, Oscar Isaac's character, looks like? A little somebody called Ivan Ooze.
Come on, people.
And I'm just going to say, like, Power Rangers mean nothing to me. That movie, I've never seen it. But I did see the photo, and I can see why people are making that mental link.
I think
and they're
Ivan
also
Ooze,
saying, like, Mr. Freeze from the Batman and Robin movie.
I think Ivan Ooze kind of looks like Purple Ganondorf from Zelda too, a little bit. But to me, I'll take the unpopular opinion of.
Because the internet is outraged about this, apparently, Chris.
Oh, here's the. Well, I don't know if this is the unpopular opinion, but I just want to let's take a measured approach to this, because I kind of feel like every single time new X-Men stuff is revealed, everybody's like, "Oh my God, leather's never gonna work," and then it needs to be yellow and blue, and then they're like, and then after the leather worked for so many years, people are like, "Yellow and blue is never gonna work."
Yeah, and then they give them the yellow and blue suits in First Class. People bitched about that.
Here's an interesting thing.
And then last year or so, we went through all that crap with Quicksilver, who ended up being more popular than the Quicksilver in the Avengers too.
And we participated in that too. We didn't like his look either, right? So like, I will be sort of complicit in that as well.
I'm throwing a stone in a glass house. Shatter, shatter, shatter.
But I will say, Apocalypse didn't bother me that much. No. And what's more, like, I really liked Storm. Yeah. I think Storm with the Mohawks looked really good. And I mean, I'm not even mad at Olivia Munn as Psylocke. I know a lot of people are hating on that too.
The only thing about Apocalypse that I thought he'd be taller. Maybe they'll, you know, CGI him a bit. And I thought his eyes would be kind of you know, no irises like in the comics. However, that really robs you of a lot as an actor. And Oscar Isaac's a great actor. You would never know that was him. And
yeah.
You know?
I would also say that until you see something in motion, like stills are not going to capture the feeling of a character.
Suicide Squad.
And sometimes you're just going to get, you're going to have a bad feeling about something that's going to ultimately resolve when that story, you know, when it tells its story. So my bigger question about X-Men Apocalypse is, how are they going to tell the story of all of these mutants that are involved? You know, like, that's the thing I'm interested in.
I don't think a lot of them are going to have significant amount of screen time.
True.
I really don't. You know, the Horsemen, as we've now found out, you know, are Magneto, Storm, Psylocke, and Angel.
Yeah.
So, you know.
What do you think of Nightcrawler's look? We got a way better look at him now.
Yeah, I think he looks fine. He looks cool. I mean, you know, we've seen Nightcrawler on screen before, so it was great that, you know, we see him again. I just, you know, I'm a little irked that the, you know, basically nothing in X2, which I really liked, happened now. Like, apparently they met like 20 years before. And
wiped off the map.
Yeah.
I got to tell you my Comic-Con story, because we're on the X-Men subject, which you probably already know, but I'm really telling it to everybody here. So I'm in the hotel, and I'm taking the elevator down, and this nice couple gets on, and they have a baby with them. And the baby is named Logan, by the way, dressed up like Wolverine. So he's in a little baby yellow onesie. It's the yellow and blue uniform, best uniform. So they put him in the yellow and blue uniform. He's got the little cross hatches on the sides, and he's wearing these cute little mittens with felt claws on them, and it's adorable. And we're like, oh, are, you know, a lot of people taking pictures of your baby? They're like, no, people are being cool. People are being respectful. And then the elevator open, the doors open, and Hugh Jackman.
This is true. He's got a photo.
Is standing outside the doors, and for a moment in time, everybody's kind of frozen. Like, you know, they don't like to put celebrities on the elevator with us rabble sometimes, and so sometimes they'll just hold the door and be like, "Well, wait for the next one." But he's a cool guy. He's not like, you know, he's not above it or all, whatever. So he gets on the elevator, hadn't seen the baby, and then looks down and there's this baby in this Wolverine onesie with claws, and it was just the most like, of course, Comic-Con, you know, of course you would deliver this. And then the elevator clears, blah, 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 go do my thing, come back, and get on the next elevator, Cody Smith McPhee on the elevator. So it's like back-to-back Wolverine.
Was it you that took the photo of Jackman?
I actually handed it to my friend who was standing right next to him, and she took it.
That's
awesome. And so, yeah, it's posted on my Twitter, at Chris Carl.
It got picked up.
Yeah, it got picked up everywhere. I mean, just because it is like the quintessential weird Comic-Con thing. And the publicist who was with him was like, hey, just let me tweet this first. You know, like everybody there was just like, of course this has to be seen by the world, though. It was
the world must know.
It was amazing.
But overall, to get back to the look of Apocalypse real quick, why do you think it was that people got, particularly the Ivan Ooze thing? Why? I mean, if you grew up with Power Rangers and you grew up with, you know, the 90s X-Men comics, like, what exactly is the hair up your butt about this?
I think it's the purpleness. I think it's the color.
He's blue on the
I think so. I mean,
EW
it's like,
cover.
you put them like next to each other, and it's like, I don't think he's ultimately going to end up looking like that in post. Really, you know, the EW cover is one thing. The movie's probably going to be desaturated a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't think all these costumes are going to pop as loud as they do in these photos.
But what if they do? It is the 80s. You might want to go full Miami Vice.
I actually respect the hell out of the decision to go bright costumes, because it is truly what everybody's been actually asking for years. And so
now you're
getting it. Now you're getting it.
Little more on the, well, actually, before I get to that, I want to know, what do you guys think of Apocalypse's look? Did we do anything to dissuade you from your utter and complete hatred for it? Do you still think he looks like Ivan Ooze or Mr. Freeze? Let us know in the comments below. So, some more X-Men Apocalypse stuff to throw out there. Jennifer Lawrence, of course, doing press for this movie and for Mockingjay, and she says that she holds out, quote, hope to do another Mystique. I mean, she's not contracted to come back.
Yeah.
The one thing that she cited as a big reason why she wouldn't do it again is it's not being sick of the character or anything, it's the makeup and the fumes from it, particularly the fumes. She goes, I'm 25 years old and I've been breathing this stuff in a long time, and it concerns me.
Well,
why can't they just do Mystique then as performance capture?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you
know,
know,
that kind of makes sense and
I think
makes everyone happy. And
at a certain point, you know, it's kind of like, I don't know, this is maybe a terrible analogy, but it's kind of like being in the NFL. Like, you're trading sort of health on your body for doing the job that you do, right? And so, like,
money.
I'm sure they're being careful with it, but you don't know, you know, you don't know what that is ultimately going to do to you down the line. So if she's being careful, you know, good on her. I feel like what could happen is she could come back kind of like Wolverine does from time to time in just a cameo role, and so she's only 1 or 2 days in the makeup, and then the rest of the time she's like either morphed as characters or, you know.
We see a lot more of just Jennifer Lawrence as Raven in the footage from Comic-Con, and it was explained too that, you know, you guys have probably seen our write-ups or our videos on it, but basically the world is a much better place for mutants by the mid-'80s, and so she doesn't feel the need to have to, like, basically be Mystique anymore.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it being that situation, though, where she just comes back and sort of dribs and drabs, and they don't, like, focus the story on her.
One more thing, Evan Peters said that the X-Men Apocalypse will feature a, quote, bigger and better Quicksilver scene than the one that we saw in Days of Future Past, which was awesome.
I'd like to see more of those sequences. I don't want them to go overboard, though. You know, sometimes people are like, oh, everybody loved this, and so we got to do something that's like totally crazy, and it goes on too long. So I just want to make sure that they're not going to do that. But yeah, more of that, please.
All right. Now we're going to talk about some fan theories. Particularly about the DC movie universe, particularly about Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad, particularly about Joker and Robin. Now, there are theories going around online. I know Slash Film posted some reader stuff, but however, we had an email from a listener by the name of Kitty. And Kitty writes in, hi guys, and hopefully a girl to replace Roth. That's what she said. After watching the Suicide Squad and Batman versus Superman trailer a few times, I'm really hoping for this big twist to surprise everyone. Jason Todd is Joker. Think about it, she writes. In several Jason Todd stories, then Joker has psychologically twisted him. The J teardrop could also be Jason from his days as a young hooligan.
Also Joker, by the way.
True.
It could also
Silly
be Joker.
tattoos would have a lot more meaning if they were forced on him. The "Joke's on you, Batman" message on the Robin outfit would be crueler. Leto and Affleck are about the same age. Affleck's like 2 years older, but about the same age.
Right. Although
Bruce's
given Hollywood math, that doesn't matter at all.
Really doesn't. Bruce's line to Alfred about "in how many good guys remain that way." Interesting.
Yeah.
What else could break Batman more than losing Robin in this way? It would be such a dark twist that would psychologically raise the stakes for everyone. Okay, well, just wanted to hear your thoughts on it, signed Kitty. Thank you, Kitty, for your email.
Yeah, I mean and it has been kind of bandied about, maybe bandied about maybe that that is the case. I don't think that's the case.
Why so?
I just feel like
it's too complicated.
Feel like they want to just keep the Joker, and having him come from that sort of origin. I think it's just a little bit more problematic as you move past this movie.
Yeah, and also, I mean, he knows who Batman is then, so why not just tell everybody?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, although, there's all kinds of psychological nonsense going on with the Joker, so I think they could probably, explain that away in a couple lines.
Oh, no, he's mine, or some crap. I don't know.
But, I mean, I think deliberately those kinds of clues are put into trailers to make people kind of scramble and be like, hey, what is going on? But there's more Robin theories out there.
And not only, this one might be a lot more than a theory, and it would really, shoot a big old hole in this Jason Todd one.
A Kepler 365b size hole. Sorry, I'm just gonna
Heroic Hollywood reports that Zack Snyder's son, Eli Snyder, who was like this hotshot quarterback in high school, looks the
like
part.
An actual hotshot quarterback.
We're not talking about a character. No, he's an actual great athlete, I guess. That he plays Robin, the doomed Robin, in a flashback in BVS where we'll see him get killed by Leto's Joker.
By the way, I love that Robin is in this movie just to die.
I mean, we see his suit, so we know he's in there.
We know something's up there, and we know he's dead from that. It's crazy.
Although, here's my theory, okay? Bear with me here. What if this continuity takes place 20 years after, because it almost works out math-wise, from Batman and Robin, and Ben Affleck is supposed to be the George Clooney one, because that suit, it kind of looks like Chris O'Donnell's suit, and they friggin' kill Chris O'Donnell's Robin, and now it's 20 years later, and he's like, I can't do this day glow, can't be crap anymore, gotta go back to being the Dark Knight, because they killed Chris O'Donnell, and I'm gonna just kick your ass.
How amazing would it be if they said those actual words? I can't believe you killed Chris O'Donnell.
But
you monsters.
But Zack Snyder did tweet a photo. Posted to Instagram a photo of him with his son. It looked like his son was going off to prom or whatever, and just with the caption "Boy Wonder?" ? So
nice.
His son has appeared in his movies before. Eli Snyder was young Leonidas in that opening scene in 300 with the wolf, and then he was Little Rorschach in Watchmen, and then he had a bit part in Sucker Punch.
I just want to go to this high school football game and Zack Snyder's just chilling, watching this kid take apart the defenses.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So it doesn't sound like that Jason Todd theory is going to end up panning out. However,
could be though. We don't know.
I mean, we don't know which Robin it is. If it's Dick Grayson or Jason Todd, it could be Jason Todd. But we want to know what you think of this, what you think of possibly Eli Snyder being Dead Robin in Batman v Superman. Dead Robin. So let us know in the comments below. Let's move on from that and talk about Spectre.
Everybody Spectre.
Yes, the Chris Carl song-a-thon, theme song-a-thon.
You know
back.
what? I'm also going to introduce my Spectre gang sign.
Do it.
That's
it. That's how you throw down when you're in Spectre.
But I love that the logo is the bullet with the Spectre, Spectre cracks on the logo. It's really, really cool.
What'd you think of the new trailer?
It feels creeping towards old Bond a little bit, but keeping it not kooky,
grounded still. But he's got an Aston Martin with a flamethrower in the back.
And you're starting to get to these things where it's like, in these other movies, you're kind of like, oh yeah, there's these kind of, like secret evil organizations at work.
Yeah.
But this one seems really like they have a conference table,
Yeah.
like it's an actual evil organization.
They probably have to go through harassment training.
Yeah.
They have
the dial-in number. Did you get the dial-in number right?
Exactly. We tried to set it up as like a webcam thing. You can't
it
webcam.
Didn't work.
I mean,
I think we're saying more about the way we try to
just saying,
telecommute.
they're on the phone with Fidelity, wondering about where their benefits are. They don't know, and God help you when you work for Spectre and they switch insurance plans. Oh, boy, doesn't that suck.
And they're not going to cover everything.
No, they're not. I mean, did you get hurt in the line of duty? Well, yeah, but, try proving that. Everyone else is dead. Here's my little kind of issue with the trailer. I love Christoph Waltz, and I hope he's Blofeld, but for right now, he's Franz Oberhauser. However, I'm the author of all your pain, okay? And I've always been there. I really kind of hate it when the villain is like, because it gets into Jigsaw territory there, where it's like, I've planned everything out. Nothing was left for chance. There's no such thing as chance. Everything happened exactly as how I programmed it.
Yeah.
I think that's a bit much. But I do think that, when he says, I'm the author of all your pain, since he, and we saw this in the past trailer, he and Bond knew each other as kids, and Bond's parents died in a skiing accident.
Right.
And Oberhauser's dad was Bond's ski instructor and sort of his surrogate father figure. What if little Franz somehow caused the accident that killed them, the avalanche, whatever? Just to be a malevolent little bastard.
He's essentially the Joker from 1989 Batman.
Pretty much. Which I never did like that they made Joker the killer of Batman's parents.
It was so like...
It robs his motivation.
Yeah, you don't need... exactly. When you're done killing Joker, when you drop him off that building... Sorry, spoiler alert, 1989. Anyway, then you're done, right? You don't need to seek out retribution on anybody. That's Batman's problem, though. He doesn't know when to stop.
Yeah. He really doesn't.
He really doesn't. He's just like, oh, I'm fractured, whatever.
I'll retire for a little while, then I'll come back because they need me.
But it made me very excited for Spectre. Like, I want to see this movie bad now, and badly, I should say. But I mean...
Do we think, how many times can Bond go rogue? He seems to go rogue every other movie. It's like at a certain point, you're just like... That's Bond being Bond.
I think somebody flipped his setting to rogue, and he's never been able to turn it back to not rogue.
I mean, it's like, it was a big deal in License to Kill when Timothy Dalton's Bond went rogue. But at this point, Bond's going rogue like Pierce Brosnan's Bond went rogue a couple of times, I think. Daniel Craig's been rogue in every Bond movie. It's kind of what he does now at this point. It's almost like, James, you showed up on time for a 9 a.m. meeting. You brought coffee for everyone.
That would be going rogue for him these days.
Yeah, you'd be like, oh my God, that's not Bond.
Wait, he's an android.
So we both like the Spectre trailer, but
that's great.
there's a little reservations about
I agree
making
with that.
Oberhauser maybe too tied to everything and Spectre too tied to
anytime you see that in a movie, it's basically like, really?
The fact that they brought back Mr. White, who was in Casino Royale, who was in Quantum of Solace, who I don't think was in Skyfall, but, that he's been there all along, too. And so that means that the Quantum Network was part of Spectre, I guess in that sense, everything is tied together. So we're going to find out that, does that mean Vesper Lynn then was, working for Spectre and yada, yada, yada.
Are we going to have an extended conversation in a diner about Madonna? We don't know.
About the Algerian love knot. I don't know. All right, so let's push on from that. We got some Star Wars stuff real quick to talk about. Benicio del Toro reportedly been offered the villain role in Star Wars Episode 8. We don't know the nature of the villain. Is he a Sith Lord? Is he a general? Is he just some other kind of bad guy? Will he be a humanoid? Will it be motion capture?
Yeah.
Will
I don't
it be
see him
Greedo's pissed off dad?
I don't see him being like a super physical, like I'm gonna do some, Jedi battles.
Yeah, I think they'll be,
I think
they'll
he's
be
gonna
mapping his face on like Dooku style.
I think he's gonna be pulling the strings.
So Star Wars and Marvel and Pixar and Disney Animation are all going to be at D23. We will be at D23.
Yeah.
Force Awakens is going to be there. Captain America: Civil War and Good Dinosaur, a bunch of stuff. So they're going to be showing footage there. Probably have the cast come out and do a wave. So that's August 14th to the 16th. It's a weekend. So keep it here on IGN for stuff on D23. But we'll definitely be seeing some stuff from that movie. Lady Sif herself, Jamie Alexander, said that, by the way, Civil War will have Easter eggs for Thor Ragnarok. Just throwing that out there.
I mean, I feel like everything now is going to have an Easter egg for everything in the future. So,
this podcast has an Easter egg for Phase 4.
Yeah.
You just can't see it yet.
It's true. Yeah, so, I mean, what it will be, who knows? And
a little Spidey reboot news.
Joss Whedon, I want to mention that he was talking about, like, we were talking about, like, sequences he wanted to drop, sequences he wanted to extend. That weird Ragnarok sequence in Avengers 2 was supposed to be longer, but Whedon has said, and I don't know if you guys have talked about this in previous podcasts, he's not going to do a director's cut of Avengers. There's not going to be any of that extra footage. I mean, maybe we'll see it in like deleted scenes or something like that, but it's not like going to be some super cut of Avengers 2 that's 4 hours long.
Yeah.
I don't really want it anyway.
I don't need it. All right, so Spidey reboot will be scripted by the directors of Vacation, John Francis Daley and Jonathan M. Goldstein. John Francis Daley was the star of Freaks and Geeks, and he would have been a splendid Peter Parker once upon a time. But once upon a time. And he also, these guys also wrote, I think, Horrible Bosses too. Just want to throw out some more news items.
I like you just dropped that in. Oh yeah, and Horrible Bosses too. And moving on.
The Minecraft movie has a director in Rob McElhenney. I think I'm saying his name right.
From The League.
And It's Always Sunny.
Oh wait, no, yeah,
It's Always Sunny.
From It's Always Sunny, actually.
And then the Rampage movie, another video game movie, also has a director reportedly, and Brad Payton reteaming with The Rock, who's going to star in the movie, and they worked together just recently on San Andreas, as well as Journey 2.
Yeah, they're going to keep that raw, realistic edge to Rampage.
Yeah.
But the other thing that came out of that story, and I don't know if it was talked about when we were originally talking about Rampage, is it sounds like they're going to feature the 3 playable characters from the game.
Like
it's like a gorilla and something like Godzilla, and I can't remember the third one. Oh, the Wolfman.
Yeah, the
Wolfman guy, like the giant.
So which one do you think The Rock plays, or does he play the human that has to stop them?
He plays the human that has to stop them.
That's no
First time I ever got drunk, playing Rampage and drinking rum straight out of the bottle. A night to remember. Anyway.
Kids, he's a cautionary tale is what I'm saying. Some other news items. Pacific Rim 2 reportedly filming this November in Toronto with Guillermo del Toro, and it's possibly going to be titled Maelstrom.
Maelstrom.
The It remake.
Oh, wait, you know what?
What's that?
What about Magic Mike having a 3rd installment called Maelstrom? Sorry.
So the It remake has a new director.
You just switched the L and the E. Anyway.
I have no follow-up for that. It remake. Andy Muschietti. Sorry, I'm slaughtering your name.
Muschietti. I don't know. You got to do it.
Now I'm hungry. Now I just want to go get pasta. Director of Mama. He's taking over for Cary Fukunaga from True Detective.
Every once in a while, we get the weirdest swag from studios, and for Mama, they gave us these twigs that were basically like they made into pens, and they say Mama on the side. And for like 6 years, I've had this twig in my car that says Mama, and every time
Seriously,
I see it,
officer, this is called movie swag. I'm not a devil worshiper.
Every time I pull it out, I say Mama. Wait. Don't even read into that. All right, moving on.
So opening this weekend, we have Pixels, an Adam Sandler video game movie. Now, a lot of folks think this movie could fall to the video game movie curse. And I think that doesn't really count because they're not adapting a video game. Because Wreck-It Ralph did great.
Yeah.
And John C. Reilly says they're going to do. He's all signed up for another one.
Good.
Now, here's my question though for you about Pixels. It's tracking anywhere from 25 million to 39 million. You know, possibly first place, but I have a feeling Ant-Man might eke out first
think it
place
might beat
again.
it, too.
However, it's also going up against Paper Towns, which has a lot of buzz.
Teen.
You know, that could be number one. But my question isn't so much how much it's going to make. My question is, how come Sony didn't sell this movie using Sandler's face like they have every other movie? They've been selling it on Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, Space Invaders, and frankly, it doesn't seem like it's worked.
Yeah.
You know, they've had Sandler's kisser on every poster in the past. Is this just kind of fallout over, like, you know, there was a lot of stuff that came out in the leak about like how they're sick of making those movies with him, and he did sign that big deal with Netflix. Is this just a big suck it buddy thing?
I also kind of feel like he's probably the most sort of, he's just kind of there in the movie. It's not like
you've seen it. I have not.
It's not like he's like this tour. He gives this tour de force performance. He just is kind of like slouching through the whole movie.
But we've seen Dinklage more in the ads and stuff, you know.
Yeah, and so maybe it is. Maybe it's a political thing, and maybe it truly is like we need to get the video game-ness of this movie out there. But yeah, I mean, it's not like Adam Sandler has been like mega bankable of late, right? Like, it's not like in the days of old where you could say it's an Adam Sandler movie. You can guarantee it's going to make 30 million just on him. I think this movie will make about 30 million based on reasons. I think it'll make 30 million. I think it'll hit right in the middle of that. But
so you think it'll dethrone Ant-Man?
It's getting bad buzz.
Yeah.
I mean,
we give it a nasty review.
It's
4.5.
17% on Rotten Tomatoes. Like, I personally, I saw it. I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was like the worst thing I've ever seen. I don't think it's the best thing I've ever seen either. It was just like one of those things that it takes a long time to get going.
Should you watch it if you're on the plane?
Yeah, I'd watch it on a plane for sure. Okay. Josh Gad is really good in the movie, and I didn't really like Peter Dinklage in it, and I didn't really like Adam Sandler. It's like Josh Gad and some of the video game stuff is the best part of the movie. But
and Kevin James as the president. Did you believe that?
No. It's a weird, and you know, it's not because of Kevin James even. It's just because the character is written so, it's like a super shallow writing of that character. So like you can't even understand why the public would connect with this guy in the first place.
Okay,
you know?
All right. Also opening this weekend, Southpaw, Jake Gyllenhaal, highly acclaimed performance. He plays a boxer looking for a comeback. It sounds like a pretty conventional story. However, apparently they throw a lot of heavy dramatic stuff at him. It's from director Antoine Fuqua, The Equalizer, Training Day.
That
Olympus
one also,
Fallen, you know?
46% on Rotten Tomatoes last time I saw. So hasn't been, I mean, I've heard great things about Gyllenhaal in it, and this is going to be my obligatory plug for Nightcrawler. If you haven't seen it, you should go watch Nightcrawler. But yeah, I haven't seen this yet.
He went from being like scrawny in that movie to like just ripped in this movie. You know?
He definitely goes through some body transformations in films. He's like crazy that way. Like, I love it.
Him and Bale. All right, so we don't really have time to get some of the other stuff, so I'm going to drop that for this week. But so I'm thinking Pixels number one. I'm going to say 31 million. I think Paper Towns number two with about 26, and I think Ant-Man third with about 26. I think it's going to be neck and neck with that and Paper Towns. I mean, Ant-Man has got a great cinema score. People did like it. I'd like to see it again.
Okay, so I think
but Ant-Man could be number one again too. Who knows?
That's what I think is going to happen. I think Ant-Man's going to be number one at 31, and then you're going to get Pixels at like 30. But I could also see the bottom drop out of that one, and just people be like, after all these reviews, be like, I don't know.
Gets
about this.
14 million, yeah.
Paper Towns is a weird one because it's got like this teen base.
Could be another like Fault in Our Stars.
Yeah, it could be one of those things. So I actually think they're all going to be pretty close together. I think 31, 30, and 26.
There we go. All right, guys. Well, that'll about do it for this week's podcast. We want to know what you think of the movies you see this weekend. Let us know in the comments below. And follow us on Twitter at Chris Carl, at Jim Vejvoda. For all things movies, keep it here on IGN.
Magic Mike Maelstrom.